terrifying. But
in your face, all over the place.
We're online 24/7. 24/7.
You're listening to the hottest internet station.
From beautiful Saline in southeastern Michigan.
At sunskyMysteries.com.
This is the 2009 Top 10 Webcam and World winner. This is SETV.
Well, good evening, everybody. Bill Zam here. Welcome to a special Friday night edition of Surrounded by Idiots. I'm waiting for a sound check to come in from our producers. They're telling me the sound might be a little bit scratchy, but I will take care of a few pieces of business here. All right. We are A-OK on the sound. I got a report today, and this is very interesting. As you know, we have the Second Amendment to our Constitution here in the United States, the right to bear arms, as everybody knows. And obviously there's no way for them to remove the firearms from the people's hands because there's so darn many of them. However, there is a way that they can control the firearms, and that is through the supplies. In other words, if you want people to stop traveling, you make gasoline so expensive they can't afford to buy it. Well, they tried making ammunition so expensive he couldn't afford to buy it, but that didn't work out. So I've gotten some reports over the past few days that several people's ammunition supplies have not been working correctly. I talked to a gentleman today who has a .44 Magnum, and he blew 3 cylinders out of it and injured himself because of bad ammunition. So you might want to make sure that you get ammunition from a reputable supplier. Also, some staff business that we have here. We have always known here on the show, all of you know that we are conservative. We are also Christians. And God tells us that wherever 2 or more of us gather together in His name, there He shall be also. Now, we have one staff member with a very serious health problem right now, and she has to go see a specialist. So we would appreciate everybody's thoughts and prayers for her so that she can get mended and feel better. And we'll all be saying prayers for her. And another staff member's one of his parents passed away, and we'd like to extend our condolences to him and his family. Now tonight we have a very special guest. This is our very first Friday night interview, and 2 days ago I had myself a real nice root canal. The last thing that I remember before descending into the pit of pain was the dentist looking at me and saying, "Oh, you're so lucky. You're going to have 2 root canals." So I am a little bit under the weather. I am kind of sore. It hurts to chew, it hurts to talk and everything. So our guest is going to kind of carry the show, and I'll ask some questions. His name is Bob, and I'd like to bring him in right now so he can introduce himself and tell you a little bit about himself. Bob, are you there? Ruh-oh, I think we might have lost our guest. Hold on a second. Let me see here.
Yes, I am, Bill. Nice to be on your show.
Excellent. You're here.
Am I there?
Yes.
Great.
You're on the air right now. Can you hear
bouncing
me?
In. I can see you on the screen. I can hear you, but you're bouncing out.
Can you hear me okay now? We have a little bit of a problem with our Skype, and hopefully Bob can hear me okay.
I can hear you all right.
Very good. We're on the air. Go ahead and take it away. Let me
Excellent.
get the script up here. on the screen so that everybody can see what we're going to be talking about.
Sure. Well, my wife Amy and I started getting into this Nibiru, Planet X. Ooh, about looks like I'm dead. I can't.
It looks like we may be having some connection issues with our guest.
Are you there?
I am here.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Probably just the powers that be playing with the wiring. Who knows?
I would not doubt it. Let me check our connection here.
I lost the picture of you.
Yeah, probably. I've got the script up on the screen now.
That's what I see right here.
Yep. Okay, we are going to close out a couple of programs on our end and see if that helps at all. Probably not. So you can go ahead and keep talking because we can hear you.
Sure. Well, Amy and I started investigating this Nibiru Planet X back in early 2009, mostly because of some YouTubers putting up videos showing something weird on Google Sky, and we started hunting down and looking at pictures, and we sent some of the coordinates into NASA, and we got this really interesting picture back showing like 5 white things orbiting nothing, and it just kind of led from there, and we started doing a little more background history on it. A lot of our friends were kind of not really joking with saying all we were doing was reading Velikovsky and Sitchin, and we decided to do the whole thing on our own. We just went looking for ancient records, and we found more than a lot of people know it's out there. The ancients like Solon, talking with the ancient Egyptian priests, the Ipuwer papyrus that is dated back to 3,500 to 600 years ago talks about a massive storm coming in, and all of this just kind of kept going, leading us in.
Well, how old is that scroll, and where did it originate from?
It was found, I think, in the 1800s over in Egypt, and at first it was believed to be nothing more than a kind of a sad poem. But when you slowly go through it and read it line by line by line, it tells this guy is probably a highly trained Egyptian scribe, and he's detailing all the damage that's happening. It's like a huge, massive flood of some sort. People are dying left and right. There's fire coming out of the sky. The water you can't drink. A lot of the records have been put out in the street and smashed, so no one knows who is whose slave and stuff like this.
So we're talking the 7 plagues then.
Pardon?
We're talking the biblical 7 plagues.
Just about, yes. Except for this is from his account. And he talks about these slaves and the evildoers, and they are being led by a priest prince from the inner courtyard of Pharaoh. I mean, this sounds just like, Charlton Heston and the 10 Commandments.
Right.
And he mentions that there's this big fire in the sky, and there's this screaming sound that sounds like 1,000 trumpets all blowing at once. And there's ash coming down, there's fire. And the Pharaoh's firstborn dies when the palace collapses on him. Another direct link with the Bible. They also mention in there all these nice gold, silver, and jewels that they gave to these slaves to try and appease their god.
Okay.
And that's an exact match with the Bible as to what the Hebrews were given.
A lot of this sounds...
Pardon?
A lot of this sounds like it's almost a direct match with the Exodus.
It is. The people leave. This person leads them out of Egypt. A huge amount of Egyptians go with them, According to one site I read this morning, there was about 840,000 of these people that left on that during that journey. The people went to, and they finally got to like a salt marsh area, and Pharaoh was right behind them, just like in the movie. It's you know, at some point you have to look at all these things, and they're all dots on the screen, you know, on the paper, and it's telling you something's here, that there were other records that were incorporated into the major religions.
Okay.
And the Pharaoh catches up to him. There's this tremendous boom. They mention that the waters go out. That's clearly a sign of a tsunami right there.
Right.
Pharaoh gets into a big fight with them in there. Then the waters come rushing back in, kill the Pharaoh, kill part of the people, and the rest of them boogie out.
Okay, so basically the parting of the Red Sea there.
Well, in the Colburn version, which is also by Ippawar, okay, he mentions in there that when the waters went out, the land rose, okay, and everyone just started running across this muddy, marshy area to get to the other side. So you have, more than likely from our research, and I'm going to try and stay with that, more than likely from our research, that was Thera exploding, the island of Santorini.
Okay,
and it was exploding because
this
huge red thing was in the sky. More than likely, gravity from this thing that was going past the Earth.
And this would have been the, obviously, from our conversations with our science producer Boris, this would have been the last passing of Planet X, or Nibiru.
Which works out to about 1550 to 1600 BC.
Okay.
Now, how we get that kind of time frame is that Akhmos I was the first pharaoh after the expulsion of the Hyksos.
Okay.
Hyksos. They were an Asiatic people that had been in Egypt since the 11th dynasty. It went from the 11th dynasty to the late 17th dynasty. Akhmos comes in. He's in charge of, really kicking them all out. They all leave, heading towards Jerusalem. And then he had a stela made to commemorate all the stuff that he did. All the things that had to be repaired. He says in there that the pyramids had collapsed, all these temples had collapsed, and this stela was found as rubble, I think back in the early 1900s. And they put it together, and they were able to take a recording off it, but the Egyptians now keep it in the basement of the Cairo Museum, won't let no one see it. And these people, they lived in, they had their town in Avaris, Egypt, and they're finding all kinds of stuff down there, but they can't keep it quiet. So, I'm not saying that the Hebrews were the Hyksos, but our research shows no mention of the Hebrews in there, except for the slaves.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you suppose, and this is probably really far out there, and we'd probably need a political scientist along with us on this, but do you suppose that some of the reasons that we're seeing all of the uprisings, especially in Egypt, are to kind of keep this hidden?
It's entirely possible. I mean,
keep everybody's eyes off the prize, as it were?
It's possible. Because, according to our research, all the governments on this planet know about this thing coming. NASA found it back in 1983. They imaged it using the South Pole telescope, and microwave images and infrared images were leaked out to the internet. It's a brown dwarf star. This is more than likely the thing that came through back in 1550, somewhere around there. I was trying to say, how we came up with that date, was that there's also mentions in China at the same time, you have a writer named Mozi, M-O-Z-I. He mentions in there that during this time, which relates right around 1600 BC, that sand was falling from the sky for at least 10 days. There was fire coming down. They were cold. They were hot. And then there's what some people call the mythical emperor of Yahoo.
Mm-hmm.
Yahou. He was one of the emperors before the first emperor, because that one person had all the history before him destroyed, burned. It didn't exist. And during his time, he told of this fire coming from the sky, setting the forests on fire, destroying all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it lasted for 10 days. In the Colburn version of Has Ippa, where he says this thing slowly passed within 9 to 10 days. So you have a correlation between those 3-4 things right there.
Okay, so it apparently during its closest pass, I mean, we're getting into the scientific stuff now.
Yes.
So apparently, because I mean, these are written records, so we can take their descriptions as eyewitness accounts, since they're so diverse and so spread out all over the world. Obviously, they didn't have contact with each other, so we can presume that when this passes, it'll take approximately 10 days for it to go by.
Yes.
And then, of course, the all of the effects of it start to diminish after that.
Well, if it did all this back in the Egyptian time of 1600 BC, just imagine what it would do now.
Yeah, it depends on how close it comes by this time. And the way that I've heard it explained from Boris is that it how do I want to put this, cycles. One pass will be real close, the next pass will be a little bit further away. You know, it varies.
That's the Kozai method.
Right.
Where any type of object in a solar system that has a relatively high angle, according to the system's ecliptic, will eventually start getting higher and higher and higher. If you can imagine a circle going around another circle. And that Kozai mechanism says that eventually the object will either be thrown off out into space, where it came from, or it will run into something like either it's the sun or another planet.
Right. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened yet, so
and
hopefully
that's
it won't happen this time.
Prophecy comes in.
Hopefully
Believe it or
won't
not,
happen this time.
Mother Shipton talked about that this thing that was coming would make 5 orbits, and then on the 6th orbit, something would happen. If you go backwards in time, this thing has been here since the 15,000 years ago. And this would be the 5th orbit, and the 6th orbit would be the next time it comes around. That would be devastating.
So we got 3,600 years to worry about it after this.
Right.
Yeah, so we're good
Plenty
to go.
of time.
So we're good to go. It's
assuming enough of our technology survives to record what happens this time, because it's pretty obvious that the ancients tried to put down a warning, and this warning was handed down, and it became obscure, destroyed, or whatever. Now all we have is what we think is a myth, but actually these are the warnings of what happened last time.
Well, that would be, I guess this would be a good time to bring us up to the present time, and what the powers that be know about this, how seriously they take this, and the audience can
very
see
serious.
Yes, the audience can see the script that we have up on the screen right now, and we've kind of been doing a preamble towards what we have on the screen and what the governments and the powers that be know about this, and apparently they do know about it from all of the underground bunkers and everything else that they've been doing recently. Obviously, they're preparing for something.
Right, those DUMBs, the deep underground military bases. The Russians, in an article not too many months back, were claiming that they're behind in building over 5,000 bomb shelters in and around Moscow for their people. According to the Star Viewer team, in their blogs, the Russians and a lot of the scientists out of Europe were pressuring NASA to please tell the people about this, and NASA wouldn't go for it.
Obviously.
So, yeah.
That's
just on the internet, this last year, there's been all kinds of accounts of truck drivers driving huge loads to military bases or to private area, and they can't leave their cabs. There's military type people there. They're just unloading on a huge scale.
Yeah, I've seen those articles. Now, we have, getting back to our friend out in space, we have a question that has just come in from the chat room. It's from a friend of ours up in Alaska, AK Survivor. And this will be a question when Boris comes on at the end of the month. We're going to ask him too, but I'm going to ask you for your opinion. The asteroid belt, could this be the remnants of a previous collision that the system has made with what could have been another planet in the system?
Very, very likely. I mean, you look at the asteroid belt and it's, there was something there. Something smacked something. It almost looks like, the planet from Star Wars that gets zapped by the Star Destroyer. It's there, and we have ancient stuff that says something came through there. So yes, I agree. It was actually a planet there at one time.
Yeah, that's just to let the chat room know, we're going to ask Boris about this too, because he's big into the astronomical stuff. He's our science.
He's been a good friend of my wife's for quite some time on the internet.
Yeah, he's a great guy. We love talking to him. I also want to spend a lot of time on these images that Bob and his wife Amy, they've been sending me images that they've been collecting over the years. I imagine it's been over the years of what certainly look like spacecraft entering our solar system around the sun. And you can see some of the blow-ups that I have of these. The one I want you guys to see, this is this one here is the most amazing one that's on the screen right now. It looks like a Thunderbird with a I guess you'd call it a plasma stream coming out the back of it. Tell me about these images that you guys have been collecting.
We've been getting those right from the SOHO data. A lot of these images, friends have enlarged. We've found them on other sites, like the one that's on the screen right now. It looks like an outstretched pair of wings, like you said, the Thunderbird, and you can see the plasma trail or energy trail right behind. A few of the images we found within this last year shows the ship coming out of what we believe is like Star Trek, like warp, coming out and it's decelerating real quick back down to normal space speeds. And the plasma trail is the energy trail behind it after it's left the wormhole or whatever it's coming through. So whenever you see those out there with that plasma trail, it just came into our system. And these are almost on the NASA stuff on a daily basis. And this ship, as you see on that screen, looks just like the ships that they used to have back in the Sumerian time, 6,000 something years ago, that they carved and drew onto things with their little god standing in front of it.
And here's the one. This one's very interesting. Everybody knows about the Lovejoy comet, the latest sun-grazing comet. I've got that image up on the screen right now, and this is one of the most bizarre things that I have ever seen, I must say. You sent this to me a little bit earlier today. This is apparently an image today from the SOHO imagery.
Right.
I've got it up on the screen right now. What can you tell me about this? What's going on here?
Well, what's going on is you have that nice bright streak of something, and if you look up at the front, it has wings.
Right.
A comet would not have wings. Okay, so whatever that thing, and if you look at the other images as you have, these ships don't leave a huge white contrail behind them. So that's completely abnormal for them. And if you look at the enlargement in there, it's meeting up with another starship, which from its plasma trail has just entered our system also. So that was no comet.
So could this be, say, a malfunctioning drive?
No, they were doing something. A couple of friends, Sheldon, sent to Amy this morning that after that thing passed, the sun got quiet. Wasn't putting out the same emissions as it had been before.
Really?
Yeah.
And I see I've got on our production chat room where the producers and everything. I mean, when you're doing a show, folks, you have what's called usually a production chat, and if everybody's in the same studio, it's up on a screen, so the producers and the host can talk to each other by typing during the show so that you can have some communication. That's why shows always seem to go so smoothly, even though it's pure havoc behind the scenes. And up on our production chat, I have the real-time solar output, and everything has been in the active range. The solar X-rays and the geomagnetic output of the sun have been in the active range for the past 2 weeks. And Bob is exactly right. Right now, they're both reading quiet as opposed to active as they have been. So there may actually be something to this.
There's an excellent chance that our friends or brothers or other races out there, they're trying to help us. They're doing something. Those ships been in the images. God, NASA has images of those going back at least 1998 of these ships coming past the sun, going in and out of our system. There's one right there where it popped out of subspace right into our normal space. You can see it. There's no other explanation for that. We tried sending those pictures to Stanton Friedman, and he just completely ignored them. So, so much for him being a fancy UFOologist person.
Well,
that's it right there where you're circling.
Yep. And this next one...
It doesn't take too much imagination when you look at these. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... they're all so... I mean, I want to say bizarre, but they're so close to being identical. Yes. Outstretched wings with this, what looks like plasma coming out the back of them. And every single one of them is like that, and it doesn't matter what shape they're in, what direction they're coming from, where they appear.
What angle, yeah.
The angle, where they appear around the sun. And NASA, of course, is, trying to tell everybody these are just anomalies in the images.
Sure.
But, I mean, if you go to the SOHO website, where you can download movies. What they do is they take an image every certain number of minutes, and NASA will stitch those together for you as a movie, and you can actually watch this happening as they come into the system. It's a couple hours behind when it actually happened, but I mean, you can actually watch the stuff happening.
In that,
it's bizarre.
Yeah, and there's no way these are photoshopped, okay? Because these images that we've collected from, say, 1998, they would have had to have had a disinformation program going right from before then all this time. There's no way. These are real.
Yep. Up here on the screen, you'll see it come up on your screen in a minute. We're on a about a 30-second delay on the stream, and Bob's watching the stream, so he sees what we're talking about. Up here on the screen, we have part of an article that you sent me the other day, and it says spacecraft monitoring the sun began registering UFOs in the vicinity of the sun around January 18, 2010. According to one observer, the UFOs appear to be moving as they are in different positions on many of the NASA stereo photos and are huge, possibly at least the size of the Earth. So these are not, you know, little shuttlecraft kind of things. They're pretty darn big.
They're huge. More than likely, the UFOs have been on a severe uptick in sightings since 2010 on October. More than likely, those come out of those ships.
Yeah, and I see...
They're just huge.
The one I have on the screen right now is from, 2011. And then we have one up here, another one from 2011. And I think some of the ones that we have here... Let me get this back up on here. We'll go through this. This will rotate by itself. We've got them from 2011 all the way back to 2009. These are...
and the other ones for 2005, yeah.
Yeah, these are spectacular images. And frankly, folks, I think what you should do is spend some time on the NASA Soho site and watch the images as they come in. I mean, this is just...
Yeah.
I mean, you can see this stuff. I mean, it looks pretty darn obvious to me. You know, I'm...
Like the blue one right there, you can see that one's almost straight on. The angle of attack, when it's picturing it, that one there, they're out there. Okay?
Yeah.
Why are they coming here? Okay, do they have, is this like Men in Black in reality, where you have aliens living amongst us, as some of the rumors and articles have been saying all these years? Or are these ships just bypassing the Earth and going to the Moon or to Mars? You know, something compels these ships to come from wherever they are to here for a reason. And there's been a lot of rumors that after this brown dwarf star goes by, that hopefully these aliens are going to intervene and try and save people, or they might be on the side of the powers that be with the New World Order. Have no idea. That's a cool one right there. You got the gate where it came out of, and the ship coming out at an angle that was... These are, and that one there, the ones on the net, you're looking at a battle of some type. Those things are shooting some kind of huge streams of something. One of the people my wife knows on another group, he sent her these pictures in Oregon. You can see the little streaks. They go out and you know, then the ship's gone. It's something else, you know, and it's, you know, all this stuff has been quietly kept from the public, except for, you know, those who watch stuff like this.
Yeah, I know. I am going to watch the Soho imagery a lot more closely now, because up until we scheduled for the show, I didn't know anything about this. This is just amazing.
Well, we tried telling. I was on a show not too long back, and I mentioned this stuff. I was only on like the last half hour in there, and you know, most people, they see, nah, that's all Photoshop. Don't worry about it. But this stuff is real.
Yeah.
Those ships are real.
Yeah, I'm just.
God, I wish one would land. I'd love to touch it.
Or, you know, well, I imagine they probably wouldn't like that.
Well, they're coming here for a reason.
Yeah.
Either these are the ancient Anunnaki, according to the Sumerians, the ones that came from heaven to earth. And if they are, they weren't very friendly back then, if you read anything from Sitchin or any of the stuff on the internet about the Anunnaki. And according to the Vatican, the Vatican was supposed to already know about these guys ever since the 50s.
No, let's talk about that, because that to me, now I have heard, I've actually read some articles about this, so I have actually have some knowledge about something that you're talking about tonight, which is amazing, because most of this stuff I haven't seen. I'm going to go through what I know about it, and we'll see if, and then you just fill in the blanks. According to what I've heard, and this is all rumor, but there has been interaction between the United States government and alien races. Okay, and if you can get your head around that and accept that, then you can move on to the next thing, where supposedly there was actually an exchange program where humans were sent there and some aliens came here to live. And there was a group of humans that went there, and apparently one of the humans died, and their planet has a lot higher gravity than ours does, and apparently the Vatican comes into this along with President Eisenhower, and Bob can take up the story from there.
Yes, Project Camelot did a interview with an Italian reporter named Luca. I can't pronounce his last name. And in that interview, he mentions that a Jesuit priest from the Vatican came to him and kind of like dumped all this in his lap, because I guess there's various factions over there that some don't want you to know, some do. And basically what it is that a spacecraft landed here in California back in the 50s, and President Eisenhower wanted the then Bishop of Los Angeles to be his personal envoy to this meeting. There was the meeting, the ship landed, the bishop saw everything, but then afterwards when Eisenhower wanted him to stay quiet, he basically said, I can't do that, you know, the Pope's my superior and I'm going to go tell him. And he did. And according to Luca, the Vatican knows that Nibiru, the planet of the crossing, which is believed to be the outermost planet of this brown dwarf star, is coming. And they said it by name. They knew that the Anunnaki were still alive and that they are a warrior race, whatever that's supposed to mean, other than what it says. And other things started to fall into place. Okay, that's that. The late John Paul II, he had a private meeting with some people over in somewhere, had a German newspaper there, and they were asking about the third secret of Fatima, and he said something to the effect of that if there was such a prophecy that said that the oceans would flood the continents and millions of people would die, why release it? Okay?
Yeah,
then,
we had actually, John DiNardo was on last week, and
yes.
I don't know if you heard that show, but we were discussing that during that show, and he backs up everything that you're saying right now, because he has sounds like the same information. So this is the second source that we have for this story, folks. So we've got two sources now.
And then on the Art Bell show, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there.
Nope, that's okay. That's okay.
Father Malachi Martin, I guess he was like a close person to Pope John Paul. He also mentioned on the Art Bell show, he tried to keep it kind of, you know, and he said something to the effect of that a large comet was coming in. It was just going to cause just all kinds of problems.
Right, we have the audio of that, actually.
Right, and he said within at least the next 10 to 12 years, which works out right about now.
Yeah. Right about now. And Malachi actually died right after that.
Mysteriously died, yes.
Yes, he said just before he died, just sort of a deathbed confession, he said he was hit from behind.
You know, the other person, Dr. Robert S. Harrington of the Naval Observatory, he was put onto a team, I guess by NASA, I'm just assuming here, but to research this stuff with others, and it must have been a falling out at some point, because he was going to go public with all of his information And then he suddenly dies of what they say was cancer. Although when my wife was investigating this stuff, she was warned to back off, and this one person sent 2 pictures to her saying, or you're going to wind up just like Harrington. So, who knows?
And what type of, what were the results of the investigation? What did you guys find out?
That was when we just kept going, kept digging. We just ignored it. You know, we did a little bit of background check on Harrington and found out that Marshall Masters, I guess, was a friend of his. And on his side, he had a whole thing about it, so it gave us a little more information there. We have no proof, but we sort of think that a couple of the scientists that were on Harrington's team after his death started to put out papers mentioning that there was a dark star out beyond Pluto, and they named it Nemesis, and I think the last paper they named it Tyche, T-H-Y-C-E or something like that, T-Y.
Yeah, Tyche, I think, is what they call it.
Oh, is that how you pronounce it? Tyche?
Yeah, I believe that's how they pronounce it.
And we dug into them, and they have been producing the same. There's this thing out there. There's a new planet, 12th planet and stuff. So we believe that they were on the same team with Dr. Harrington, and that's where they've been getting their information to put it out. And then we wandered into that Star Viewer team and found out that they had also put out a paper at almost the same time mentioning this, but had pictures and stuff in there.
Oh.
And this team went well beyond that. They came out with, it's all kinds of what they say is scientific data, and I tend to believe what I've seen when I've read on the internet, showing that this thing is coming. They call it G1.9. Some people were thinking it was a supernova over one side, and this team is very adamant that, no, this is this. And that's, they match some of almost everything we've come up with, images and other papers that we've been handed that talk about this stuff. It's, the nation, the world has known about this thing's coming since at least the 80s. They started building all these bunkers underground. The first thing comes to your mind is, oh, hey, no, the elite's going to disappear into these things.
Right.
The Doomsday Seed Vault up in Svalbard, Norway, was mostly paid for by the world's multi-billionaires. Gates, Rockefellers. It's just a huge name. And this thing is designed to hold every seed for every plant growing on this planet. And it's designed, according to 60 Minutes a couple of years back, that if they ever lost power, it could stay frozen for 25 years.
I understand they've got a bunch of these things around the world.
Supposedly, and that was the only one that became noticed because of the people who put money into it. The internet dug it up, and 60 Minutes caught on to it. So they are planning for something. Okay, that's obvious. It's writing on the wall. They know this thing is coming, and that's where the theories and the rumors kick in after that. 'Cause you've also got the chemtrails, which have been carefully dug into by Star Viewer team and some others, of these jet aircraft flying at high altitudes, dumping whatever into the air.
Yeah.
Star Viewer team actually analyzed some of it and found exactly what it was.
Yeah, there's barium in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
There's so many things are happening, all coming together that makes you really wonder or believe.
Yeah, interestingly, one of the latest theories that I've heard behind the chemtrails is that the barium in there is protecting us from the radiation that's already coming in from the Planet X passing.
Yes.
So it's it could, there was you were talking about Star Trek earlier, and
yes.
I remember there was a episode of Star Trek where they kept repeating a time loop. They kept going through this time loop and getting destroyed at the end of it. And
Star Trek Next Generation, yes.
yeah, and eventually they figured out a way to send themselves a signal the next time they went through that. And it's almost like first it was Atlantis, and that became a legend, and Mu, and that became a legend, and then now we have what we have in the Bible and the Cobran Bible and all these different historical records that are coming that we have now that we're finding, and it's almost like every time it passes by, humanity is able to get just a little bit more advanced than the previous cycle. So hopefully this time we're advanced enough where a substantial number of us can survive.
Right. But there's really strong rumors behind the barium, is that the powers that be don't want all the population to survive afterwards, and that's why that stuff's in it. And that the people there are going to be in these underground bunkers, just like in the movie Deep Impact, where you had the African-American president. These things, everyone around the country has one. It only holds about 2,000 people, and the rest of you, well, good luck.
Good luck.
The theory and the rumors coming out is that this will depopulate the planet because the survivors won't have anywhere to go, and they'll just die because of this or that. It's almost falls right into the Georgia Guidestones.
Right.
Those 3 massive pieces of granite back there that says do not have anything over, 50 million, I think it was on there?
Yeah, that's
the population.
They're a stated goal, and oddly enough, there's 10. There's they call it the commandments for the new world, and oddly enough, there's 10 of them on there.
Right, and they're in each known language on this planet, which makes you wonder. Kind of like the Rosetta Stone found over in Egypt by Napoleon's people. This is going to be a Rosetta Stone for over here.
I am getting a picture of the Georgia Guidestones up on the screen right now.
No one knows, well, I think only one person knows who actually had it built. The quarry won't tell anyone who paid them to do it, but these things are just, they're massive, like, 14 feet tall or something like that, about 2 feet thick.
Yeah.
With all this information carved into them.
The image is on the screen right now. Let's see if we can get a load of a bigger image over there. There we go.
Almost like a modern-day Stonehenge.
Right, and it's in the, I believe, the 9 most used languages
on the planet.
On the planet, yeah. Sorry, the computer was doing a couple of weird things. So I'm talking and trying to do a couple of things at the same time, but it doesn't usually work out. Okay, here's the 10 things that are on the Georgia Guidestones. Maintain humanity under 500 million. Guide reproduction wisely. Yeah, thank you very much. Unite humanity with a living new language. Yeah, sure. I speak English. Welcome to America. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things that come with tempered reason. Protect people and nations with fair laws. Let all nations rule, internally resolving external disputes in a world court. Avoid petty laws. Balance personal rights with social duties. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Be not a cancer on the earth. So there you go. Those are your 10.
So it kind of makes you wonder, with all these starships out there coming in and really showing themselves in the last year, what is coming and what is the plan for those that survive outside of these bunkers.
Yeah, that is, one has to wonder. There's a...
that is a for sure.
one has to
hopefully,
wonder what the purpose is.
Hopefully these
behind
ships
things.
are here to help.
Well, hopefully. I wish they'd come down and tell us one way or the other.
Same here. Yeah.
It's like, it's, I don't like being kept in the dark.
You know, with all the rumors and stuff, the amount of damage this thing did on its last return, massive flooding, Chinese Emperor Yahoo, he said that it was a massive wave that went over the mountains.
Oh, hold on just a second. Let me get, we have that on the script, as a matter of fact, and the audience can, page 113, from Worlds in Collision by Valkovsky. Emperor Yahoo, is that the guy's name?
Yes.
Okay.
Yahou.
It's up on the screen now, so we can go through that, and the audience can read along with us. Let's talk about that, because this is the first time I've heard about this, and I always enjoy learning from our guests. So take it away.
Yeah, evidently this emperor, he was one of the pre-emperors before the first emperor, and he's kind of like in mythology almost now, because there's not much evidence of the ancient works. He tells in there that during his time that this huge wave came in, and it was taller than the mountains, and when it hit, it filled all these valleys and crevices up into the hills that had never had seawater in them, and that the lower foothills were completely underwater, and it took several years to have these valleys drained of all this water. And when they were doing this, he had to send out guides out to the four corners, because they didn't know which way was east, west, north, or south anymore. And these guides came back, and they had to redo all the astrology stuff. They had to do a brand new calendar, because everything was all screwed up, which also matches with the Jewish Hebrew part that over in the Middle East, they had to do a brand new calendar. And Ippawar, that scribe from Egypt, he also mentions in there that the stars were in a different position, the sun was coming up and down in a different position. They didn't know which way was what for quite some time, that the growing seasons were completely thrown off. And this is all textbook theories on geographic pole shift.
Right.
That this is what happened back then.
And it says here, at that time, the miracle said to have happened that the sun, during a span of 10 days, did not set. The force were ignited, and a multitude of abominable vermin was brought forth. Kind of like, sounds like some of the people I meet at Walmart on a daily basis.
And Mosai, on a different part here at the same time, said that 3 gods came down to them. They picked one warlord to back, and they backed him to the hilt, and all the other warlords had to bow down to him during this exact same time. So we have some kind of intervention there of people from outer space.
Wow. That's tell us some more about that. What more do you know about that?
It's on the internet. You can Google them. It's Mosai, M-O-Z-I, Book 5, where he's talking about something like nasty war or something, about how the all these prospective warlords are treating each other, and that one finally gets backed, and none of the other ones dare lift their eyes anymore, and that's where everything went from there. And that basically was right around just before 1600, because he put all his books and writing down just before the first emperor, and only recently, within about like say 10 years, have they been up on in English translations. You have it right there.
Yep.
And when you read that slowly, right there, you have the condemnation of the offensive war. Yes, he talks in there about that, and it's This stuff, it's like right out of sci-fi.
Yeah. It's like a lot of these old things are right out of like a science fiction movie.
Exactly.
Oh, I lost my train of thought, folks. There's a movie coming out in the next few weeks. I think it's tomorrow night on the Sci-Fi Channel, where the Earth stops spinning and one side is going to be in perpetual light, and the other side is going to be in frozen, and a bunch of aliens are the ones that are doing it and causing the Earth to stop.
Whoever's got your teleprompter there, have them go down a little bit further.
Okay.
Because
that would be me.
I'm looking at the screen you have right there. It's a little bit further down on that website.
Okay, the left side or the right side?
The right side, where it's showing the English print.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're just gone down a little bit more. It takes about 35 to 40 seconds for what stream shows to catch up.
Sure.
We're down at the bottom of that paragraph now. Or is it farther down? Maybe it's farther
I'm
down.
trying to read it as I'm seeing it going down.
Condemnation of Offensive War 3?
Right.
Okay.
It's like about halfway down that one page.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all ancient records that are out there for and you read this stuff, this is all proof that something really did happen way back when, and that we do have, rulers, weapons, let's see.
The rulers and lords of
I think it's a little bit,
today are quite different.
I think it's a little bit further down.
Okay, we'll go a little bit further down. Let me see here. Now that the armies are intended for mutual destruction, it is evident, if the general be not courageous, if soldiers be not brave, if weapons be not sharp, drills be not frequent, if the forces be not large.
No, a little bit further down than that.
Okay.
Yes, stop right there. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, a little bit further down.
The warring lords would gloss over their mutual conduct with arguments to confute Mosai.
Yeah, just a little bit further down.
Okay, we'll go down to the next one.
Okay, stop right there. Okay. Heaven ordered their destruction. Let's see right there, yeah. Called attack, but yeah, that's the spot right there where you had it. If you can go back to that one part you just had it on before this.
Okay, here we go. We'll go back up here. We're dealing with the delay on the stream. So I've gone back up to where I was just previously. What they did is not to be called attack, but punishment.
Right.
Yep.
Right there. That's the exact part.
The sun rose at night. It rained blood for 3 days. Dragons emerged in the temples, and dogs cried in the marketplace. I hate it when they do that. Ice came in summer, and earth cracked until water gushed forth.
The 5 grains appeared in mutation. The 5 grains sounds like the rice that they were growing then. It came back in mutation. And the people were greatly shocked. So there you have Mosai telling of something happened where the sun and everything's out of order. You have Emperor Yao telling that this huge, gigantic wave came in, just like out of the movie 2012, coming over the mountainside. You've got the Ippawar and the Tempest Stella from Akmos the First. You've got on either side of the planet saying this is what happened.
So we have multiple historical records saying the same thing.
And that Russian guy, Velikovsky, he pulled up even more ancient records. I was researching that today. It's just the the amount of evidence showing that something happened back then is just too hard to ignore, period. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Yep. Back up on the script here with the Velikovsky writings right here. Let me see. Calculations are undertaken to establish the dates of the Emperor Yehu on the basis of a remark that the constellation, what is that, Neo? Thought to be the constellation Hydra, culminated at sunset on the day of the vernal equinox at the time of Yehu. It was reckoned that the flood occurred in the 23rd century before the present era, but this date was questioned by many.
The universal flood, but this point of view, abandoned the story of the deluge of Noah has its parallel in the Chinese tradition about a universal flood in prehistoric times in the days of Fo Hai.
That looks like it.
There's just so much, every part of this planet has old traditions or writings saying that something happened, and it seems to be all at the same time.
Yeah, so apparently it is all related to the Planet X that is coming towards us. Now we have all of these spacecraft that we're seeing on the NASA SOHO images.
Plus we've had the weird weather for the last year or so.
Yep,
freezing down there in Brazil.
Yep.
I don't know how many people we've seen reporting over the internet that the sun is not setting or rising where it's supposed to be, that it's off slightly.
Yeah, in Greenland.
One of Amy's friends figured it was about 30 degrees off or something.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're showing up that there's possible of changes in the moon's orbit. It's kind of wobbling around a little bit.
Yep.
Only something with a great amount of gravitational force could do any of this. And then, as you know, all these pictures from around the globe of two suns.
Yes.
You have the one sun, and then there's a smaller one. I know Susan gave Amy a bunch of pictures where you can clearly see that second little sun to one side. What is that?
Our producer took some of the images that people are talking about. They're quite amazing.
Yes, and it's here in California, we tried down here in Half Moon Bay, we tried looking up at the sun when it comes up in the morning, and we can't see it.
Right.
But all these other people are seeing it, and they're photographing it. They're photographing it through welder's goggles, which take care of any chance of flare of any type, and it's a solid piece up there.
And also,
just recently there was a huge CME, a coronal mass ejection that came out, and it went over something huge that was probably cloaked, like a Klingon or Romulan cloaking device. It flowed all around. It showed it for a couple seconds and went past. So there's something out there.
Orbit of Mercury. It looked like it was an orbit around Mercury. I was wondering if that might have been one of the probes that we have around there, but it looks so much bigger.
No, that's planet-sized thing.
Yeah, that thing was huge. Now, another thing that we had scheduled to talk about was something called the Omega Secret.
Oh, yes.
I've got that up on the screen right now. This is from 2006. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about that? Let's go through that for the remainder of the show. This is I read this earlier, and it's very interesting.
Is that the one where they're talking about the film from that one? I can't remember his name right now. He had it. The one Jesuit priest.
Let's see. It says translated from Italian by Robert Morningstar and Matteo Sarti.
Okay. I tried reading a lot of this stuff today. So much of it, it just was like mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
These were taken from that reporter's website over there, and I was trying to read them all out, and we put them up on the internet a while back onto my wife's site. And it's, you look at this stuff and it's like, okay, future lectures, yeah. It's all connected with the information that Luca got from the Jesuit priest from the Vatican. And yeah, I honestly I can't remember everything I tried to read today.
Okay. Let me see. It's
there's just so much of
I
this
know,
stuff that's out there.
This is actually something that Donardo and I talked about last week. Now that I'm looking at it, it's the presumed observations, a videotape of the presumed observations of a 10th planet coming closer to our solar system. And apparently the Vatican has their own spacecraft that's called Silo. S-I-L-O-E. And they took the video in the early 1990s.
Yeah. Well, the Vatican has their observatories built all around the planet. They're watching for this thing. And just within the last year or two, I think the Vatican put a thing out saying they acknowledge the idea or the belief that there's extraterrestrials.
Let me see if I can bring up the video that I have.
Yeah, evidently they have a secret space program, or either the European Space Agency or NASA is sending their probes up also.
That's what it, okay, here it is, I think. Let's see if this will play. And here we go. This is
I've seen this video. It's really interesting.
Yes, this is the video that supposedly came from the Vatican. Up here on the screen, you can see on the right-hand side of, I'm not sure what planet this is an image of, but you can see what they believe is the 10th planet there on the right-hand side. And you can see it fades in and out.
Yes, I've seen that. Now, if it is the outermost planet from that brown dwarf star, again, we have no idea where it's going to be swinging through our system.
Right.
The computer-generated images had it year by year until 2012, and then they showed the entire thing or just a planet slipping between Jupiter and Saturn. Now, it could very well come closer in than it did the last time, or their projections could be well off. The nations in the world were caught off guard by the approach speed of this thing, and the DUMBs had to be finished ahead of schedule. That's why the Russians are behind right now.
So it's coming faster than what they originally thought.
Right. And the Russians had an article during the time of Elenin saying that Elenin was being followed by a Jupiter-sized planet by several months. And Jupiter-sized planet, that's about basically maybe a little bit smaller or larger than what a small brown dwarf star would be. Brown dwarfs,
big.
You can only see them in the infrared range, because they don't give off enough visual light like a sun does.
So you need a infrared telescope in order to be able to see the thing. That's why you can't see it with your naked eye, because it's you can only see it in the infrared spectrum.
And that was one of the images we sent you. That was one of the images that NASA took back in 2007, 2008. It's an infrared image that shows the brown dwarf and the at least 5 of its 7 planets orbiting around it.
Yeah,
a lot of people were saying that these images were faked. And I've been told an infrared image is a little bit too hard to fake on Photoshop.
Why is that?
I honestly don't know. I don't understand enough about the programs myself. Evidently, just a basic image, you can like put anything in there, and make it look right. But in infrared, because of the color density around around the objects, it's and this one, from what I've been told, is real. There's no way in heck it can be photoshopped. And I know you have it in there somewhere, but
yeah, I've got
I know my wife put it
somewhere
on her
in my
website,
vast collection of images.
Yeah. It was probably in the group that we sent you of the images showing the stuff from what was that? They actually show the picture, but it's not the infrared pictures. It's the other ones mixed in there that were leaked from the South Pole Telescope back in 2007, 2009.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where I have it on the computer.
That's all the starships we sent you yesterday.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where.
No problem.
We'll just go ahead and let the images rotate through while we finish up the show. We were actually scheduled, folks, to be on for an hour, and we've gone over an hour, so that's pretty good that we have you on for over an hour. Let me ask you a question. Can you come back next week?
Sure.
You want to come?
Yes.
You want to come back on next Friday too?
Sure, if you want. Try and dig up some more research in between.
Yeah, we'll get more research and get more of these images that we have here, and get some more information. And we're going to have John DiNardo on next week.
Okay.
Actually, tomorrow night. And he's going to. We're probably going to cover a lot of what we're covering tonight again.
And good to listen to him.
Yeah, so make sure that you tune in.
Oh, yeah. There was another guy you had on a while back, Scott Stevens, if I remember correctly.
Don't think he was on our show. Maybe he was, and I've forgotten. We've had so many guests on. But
yeah,
I don't think he was on our show.
4/27/11.
What date?
4/27/2011.
Well, we began broadcasting on November 1st, so that would have been slightly before our time.
Okay. What's his name? Sheldon. He was nice enough. He sent my wife an email with a little clip from it. This other guy was pretty good too.
Yeah, we're letting these images of these spacecraft.
That one there, the ship is firing. You can see it.
Yeah, these
the
are
blue one.
I'm just watching these again. I'm just mesmerized by them, folks. This is just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
And they're right there for everyone to see. That one, the red one you have right under now, it just entered our blue one right there. You can see the energy trail behind it. Denotes that it's just entered. Now that one there, it's heading away from the camera. That one's getting ready to go out into warp. And that one there is coming in. These things are just fascinating. They are.
And they all seem to have the same shape, too.
Yeah, and that one there looks like it's firing something in two different directions. And there's another one, that energy trail right behind, denoting it's just come in. And NASA has been doing this since 1998 at the very least. And us poor citizens, humans, don't know a thing about it.
Yeah, well, more than likely, NASA doesn't know anything about it either.
My opinion is they've known the whole time, but just been keeping it quiet.
Do you think there's a possibility that the canceling of the space shuttle program might have anything to do with this?
Because this thing's coming through, possible, yeah. What was it? NASA over a year ago put out some kind of a a note saying that there was going to be a once-in-a-life probably going to take out most of the satellites and possibly the space station. So that was about a year ago. Like I said, there's a tremendous amount of stuff we've been saving over time talking about this.
Waiting for these images to rotate through again. I'm just while you're talking, I'm just watching these images. This is
that one there looks like the last one you had up there. It looked like one of the ships going into a Stargate or out of a Stargate, because you can only see half of this. Yeah. And these are just images from the SOHO, the 2 satellites SOHO has.
Right.
You can go into stereo behind, and you'll find even weirder stuff on there. You can go into the, I think the Navy's. Look at that one. Those phaser beams going out in all directions.
Yeah. Yeah, these are all very, very interesting images. So I believe that we are on for next Friday.
Okay.
Which would be, let me check the date. That would be the 23rd.
Okay.
23rd of
Oh,
December.
wait. We won't be here next Friday. We're heading down to Disneyland for that weekend.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. How about the 30th? We're doing show scheduling on the air, much to the consternation of our production staff.
I'll have to talk to Amy and make sure we get our dates, because she doesn't get out of the house too much. She mostly spends all her time on the computer. After the stroke she had, she can't really speak that much anymore, and she's really sensitive about it.
Right.
So we're taking off down for Disneyland down there for the Christmas holiday.
Well, that'll be nice.
So what I'll do is I'll talk to her tonight, and we'll get the dates and stuff also, and we'll email it over to you, or through Susan, which is a good friend of hers that she's known on the internet along with Boris.
Yeah, Susan is our scheduling master.
Producer. Yes.
She's a scheduling master and producer, and she's screaming at me in the chat room right now. I'm just going to start setting up the schedule willy-nilly.
Well, I'm sorry for the next weekend time, but that's
that's
the time when
okay.
she wanted to get out of here.
That's
we don't
okay.
get out too often.
I'm going to we're going to get a lot more stuff and information together so that.
I know Amy put up a request on the website today that there has to be other records of this happening. I've heard rumors down in India that they talk about it, and over in Europe, Amy has really felt for a long time that star disk is part of that. This huge star disk they found over in Germany is also dated back 3,600 years ago. It shows the constellation of the Pleiades, and it has a half moon on it, and that's one of the things that the Mayans were scared and the Aztecs were scared of. When the Spanish came up through Central America, they found out that the Mayans had a cycle of a ceremony every 52 years.
Right.
They would all go up to the highest mountain, and they'd watch the Pleiades at early dawn go down to the horizon. If it stopped, they knew they were going to be dead.
Oh.
If it continued, which it has all this time, they all celebrated. And the 52-year, there you go, the 52-year cycle comes up June of next year.
Oh, well, that's not good.
I'm just telling you what we've researched. Because you can see right there, you've got the Pleiades on there, and the Pleiades, the way it's presented on there, only was found in Egyptian stuff dating to 3,600 years ago.
And that
because
brings us back to
sometimes
our...
seven stars show, sometimes it's 6. and that's an exact match for 3,600 years ago.
And
A
that
little bit
brings
too
us-
much of a coincidence.
And that's our 3,600-year cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So it all seems to be coming together.
Unfortunately, that's what we thought for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have it not happen.
Well, that would be nice, but I don't think that's gonna. I think we're in for a world of trouble, and the more people that we can get the word out to, the better. And that's one of the reasons why we do this show, is so that people can learn
them
from our
preparing.
guests and get as much information about how to survive this and how to deal with it and learn about it and what they can do to prepare.
Exactly.
So
Solar panels, wind generators, backup generators. I'm not too hot on going underground anywhere, so we're planning to stay on the surface if anything does happen.
right.
Just get away from the ocean.
Now, what about these 300-mile-an-hour winds that they're forecasting? These
That's
huge winds. I
stuff-
mean, that's going to wipe out any wind generator that you have, that's for sure.
Yeah. Plus possible EMP, electromagnetic pulse, which will take out all computers in your cars and laptops and everything else. That's happening because of the sun. The sun is being affected by its binary twin, this brown dwarf star. So just like as everyone has heard in all kinds of astrology stuff, that astronomer stuff, that other systems are all binary, so are we.
Yep, that's what I've heard is for about 10 years. I read that 90%. I think the figure was 90% of all star systems are binaries. And as soon as people started picking up on the Planet X stuff and that we might have a brown dwarf as our binary twin, now all of a sudden they're saying, oh, no, we were way wrong about that. It's maybe 1 out of 100 stars have a binary twin.
Sure, and I have a Golden Gate Bridge to sell to you if you want it.
Do you really? How much?
Yeah. Oh, I give it to you cheap.
Okay, cool.
All right.
I'll trade you 2 cats and a can of beer.
What kind of beer?
Oh, a fine.
Guinness only. Sorry. Guinness only.
Fine Anheuser-Busch product available at your local grocer.
They're good enough.
All right. I think we're about done with tonight's show. We're going to have Bob on again, I don't know, sometime in the near future. And tomorrow night, folks, we're going to have John DiNardo back on. And that should be an interesting show. And tonight's show has
Hopefully he was listening tonight and he'll have something to say about what I said, so we'll get more information.
Yes. You guys both seem to be on the same page as far as information goes. So that's a good thing. I always like having the guests.
Don't forget
package them up.
Sheldon. Sheldon's pretty good too.
Yes. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it tomorrow night, but we have John for sure.
Okay.
So, with that said, we are going to wrap up tonight's show. And
one last thing, if I could.
Sure.
Amy just hit me upside the head, telling me to say hello to Boris and to Susan for her.
Yes. Boris and Susan. Amy says hi. We're just going to wait.
Slap behind her head.
Yeah, the old dope slap upside the head. I love those things. Those are great. So, with that said, we are going to close up shop for the evening, and we will
Thank you for having me on here.
Yes, we enjoyed having you. You have some excellent information. We enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully I will be more over my intense dental pain the next time you come on, so we can have a little bit more of a constructive conversation than what we had tonight, because I'm kind of still woozy from all the medication and everything.
She got slugged again. She says to have you go to her website. All of this information and more is in the file and the photo section. I know she sent you an invite a while back, or she'll send you another one.
Yes,
All
have her
of this
send me another one, and we will get it up on our site.
Yeah.
We will get a link up on our site. We've been getting so many emails from so many people recently that it's probably gotten lost in the inundation of information.
She's going to send you another
getting.
one tonight.
Okay, very good. That'll be excellent. And Bob, we appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us tonight.
Sure, and thank you for having me on.
Yep, and we're going to have you on again probably in a couple weeks, I guess.
Okay. Hopefully we'll have some better information for everyone.
That would be excellent. And folks, we'll be back on again tomorrow night. We appreciate everybody showing up for the show. And until tomorrow night, this is Bill Zam signing off, and we will talk to you tomorrow night.